Liz Warren is excited. Bernie Sanders is proud. Chuck Schumer is gleeful. And their Democrat co-conspirators in the Senate are united in their delight in the Saturday passing of their 2021 COVID relief bill, aka the American Rescue Plan, by a vote of 50-49 along party lines, with one non-voter, Representative Dan Sullivan, a Republican from Alaska, being absent. So, should they be so ostentatiously, arrogantly self-congratulatory? Or should they be, perhaps, just a little bit ashamed and maybe ask for forgiveness? Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC TV. You know, almost immediately after the Saturday vote, socialist Bernie Sanders, the independent of Vermont, tweeted this.
As chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, I am proud we passed the American Rescue Plan, which, in my view, is the most significant piece of legislation to benefit working families in the modern history of this country.
Of course, even though Bernie and company never fully describe what a working family is, because everyone except those wholly on the federal dole, such as politicians in D.C., try to work, many of Bernie's emblematic working families aren't working anymore because Bernie's leftist pals on the state level shut them out of their businesses. And almost immediately after the vote, Americans began speculating about how this Senate version, totaling $1.9 trillion, will be reconciled with the House version, which clocks in at the same amount but contains a few slightly different provisions. Very few people, however, speculated about how various portions of the Senate bill actually jibe with the U.S. Constitution that, of course, those politicians swear to uphold when they take their highly paid offices. So let's take a look at some of these aspects and see how they jibe. As Bernie also crowed,
this package, among many other things, increases direct payments by $1,400, extends unemployment benefits, reduces child poverty by half, ensures we are vaccinating as many people as possible, and puts us on a path to safely reopen schools.
Which are curious claims to make, especially that whopper about reducing child poverty by half, since, as Thomas Sowell has shown, decade after decade, government welfare schemes do not fix poverty or incentivize people to work. They perpetuate poverty and dependency, generation after generation. For example, notes Sowell, anyone who's serious about evidence need only compare black communities as they evolved in the first 100 years after slavery with black communities as they evolved in the first 50 years after the explosive growth of the welfare state, beginning in the 1960s. Sowell notes that prior to the welfare state, poverty among black Americans was steadily dropping. Employment was rising. Murder rates were dropping, literacy was rising, and most black children were raised in two-parent families. The exact opposite arose after the start of Johnson's so-called Great Society and War on Poverty, programs which in various forms have been perpetually fed by the feds ever since. And Sowell notes, the welfare state has led to remarkably similar trends among the white underclass in England over the same period. But what about the Constitution? Surely, even if these welfare handouts haven't done what Bernie claims they'll do, they gotta be constitutional. After all, Bernie's salary and office come to him via provisions of that so-called rule book. So he must really, really respect it and the enumerated provisions in it. And it sure is odd that prideful Bernie votes for a bill that increases handouts to the unemployed to the tune of $300 per week more through the end of September. Something that shells out $350 billion to state and local governments and will launch $170 billion at K-12 schools and so-called
higher education institutions,
which will cover reopening costs. Oh, those would be schools and institutions that not only aren't supposed to get any dough from the federal government, but which either closed voluntarily or were shut down by local or state politicians with the same mindset as Bernie. And by the way, a message from Fox News' Brooke Singman to that proud socialist Bernie, who seems to want the U.S. to follow in the footsteps of his favorite bankrupt, hyperinflated socialist enclave, Venezuela. Quote, Congress already passed about $4 trillion in relief measures under former President Donald Trump, pushing the deficit to a record $3.1 trillion in fiscal year 2020, which doesn't include the $900 billion relief package lawmakers approved in December, end quote. And this package, as she notes, likely will raise the U.S. debt to over $30 trillion. Have fun selling those long-term bonds, politicians. Oh, and by the way, say hi to rising cryptocurrency as you ride the dollar down into the hollow earth. And then, of course, there's the pro-death of humans aspect of this bill, something that the Democrats appeared very insistent would be part of its core. As Claire Chrétien writes for LifeSite News, quote, on March 5th, the Center for Family and Human Rights, CFAM, warned, quote, the bill makes funding for abortion groups available through $8.6 billion for the global response to the pandemic. The global response to the pandemic, led by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, designates reproductive health, including abortion, as essential to the COVID-19 response, end quote. And that's not all. As CFAM also notes, the COVID-19 bill appropriates over $500 million in foreign assistance for humanitarian emergencies, $204 million for State Department operations, and $41 million for USAID operating expenses that are not covered by the Helms and Silgender amendments, which respectively prohibit U.S. funds from being used to perform or promote abortion overseas. None of which is enumerated in the Constitution. Adds Chrétien, the International Pro-Life Lobby Group added, quote, more troubling to pro-life senators is the $8.7 billion designated for the global response to the pandemic, end quote, noting that since March, UN Secretary General Guterres and UN agencies made abortion essential to the UN pandemic response. They included sexual and reproductive health as essential to COVID-19 UN policies and defined this term by reference to a UN manual that declares abortion a human right and says medical providers should be forced to refer for abortion against their conscience. Because nothing says pandemic response more than killing human beings in the womb. But perhaps this is just too much party pooping on this bill. Perhaps the Senate move really is great, and some of the other provisions are so mind-glowingly constitutional, we ought to be thrilled, just like Bernie. Heck, legendary and self-styled Native American Indian Liz Warren, the Democrat, shocker, of Massachusetts, tweeted this that day. I'm happy that my bill with @Senator Menendez, oh, he's a class act, to make any student loan forgiveness tax-free was included in the COVID relief bill. This clears the way for President Biden to #clear student debt without burdening student borrowers with thousands of dollars of unexpected taxes. So let's check out that Constitution thing again and look real close to see if there's anything in it about canceling student debt. Nope. How about we look even more closely to see if there's any enumerated power for the feds to hand out the student loans in the first place? Looking. Hey, Liz, how about we zoom in 50 times? You want to take a look? Yeah, let's see. You see anything? Liz? Oh, gosh. It's so strange. The power to hand out tax cash in the form of loans for college students to flood universities with ill-gotten gains, it's just not there. Wow. Well, that's okay, because Liz also tweeted, this is just the start of what Congress can do for working families. We must raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We need to invest in infrastructure, K-12 education, and a clean energy economy. I'll fight with every tool in the toolbox to help our families and economy recover. And gosh, none of those are powers granted to the feds either. Granted in that, of course, toolbox that she mentions, which is supposed to be the U.S. Constitution, according to their oath. How strange, because in her statement, Liz said we, using that forced inclusion pronoun, meaning you'll be made to do what she tells you. And she used Bernie's line about working families, as if she really cares about those she says are, as Marx always said, the workers, even as she saddles future generations of workers, those that aren't exterminated by abortions, with debt slavery to do what she wants for generations. What a proud time for America, huh? Yeah. What is that line about pride? Ah, yeah. Pride cometh before the fall.
Good. Twice the pride, double the fall.
Well, hopefully we won't be falling over ourselves. Hopefully you are all doing very well. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Keep walking strong and keep fighting for freedom. Remember, you can find us all the time at mrctv.org. That's mrctv.org. You can find us on Parler, of course, on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and share the videos. Please share the videos. We really appreciate that. I'll see you in the comments section there as well. You'll find us on Twitter. You'll find us in Facebook. I am on Twitter as well, and I'm on Gab. It's at Gard Goldsmith on Twitter, and Gab, it's at Gardner Goldsmith. And I do want to mention one more time, if you get the opportunity, look for our great MRC series called College Unbound. We're just putting out the 3rd episode now this week, and we'll have the 4th one coming very soon. It's all about Marxism and collectivism, and it's a learning course that lets you learn all about this through video, text, and we even include quizzes. Watch the videos a couple times, share them with friends. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to gain wisdom. You just sign up, it's free, you'll get the invite in your email box, and then you're ready to roll. Hey, thanks so much for rolling with us here at MRC TV. We really appreciate your help and all of your support and all of your very kind comments. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.